What do you think of this girl? Look at her pictures, look at her pictures. And all his friends, even his women friends, are like, wow, she's very pretty. And, you know, and then they're going down my timeline. And I do a lot of charity work for the gay center here, for the transgender youth community. So they're like, oh, good, you know, she's an activist for the transgender community. And he goes, yeah, she's trans. And they're like, well, she's pretty. And then the question came down to, is she still a boy trans, or is she changed? Because there's different levels of being transgender. You don't need to go through the full operation to think in your head that you're a woman. It's just you still like your parts.
It is what it is, and you are who you are.
Right.
So I want to share with everyone my most gay experience, is what I call it, in my life. And it's a long story, but I'm going to make it a short story. So years ago, I lived in West Hollywood, and I had a manager who was a gay man from New York. And he was a fabulous, fabulous business manager. He handled my bookings and my band issues, and he was fabulous. He liked to drink and party a lot. And one night, he called me up at work and he said, I got you a gig. And this was a very prominent club in Santa Monica. And he said, I got you this gig, so I'm going to pick you up tonight. We're going to go celebrate. And I thought, sounds good, because he always wanted to party. Any excuse, he would party, right? So Mike says he's going to pick me up, and he said, I'm going to bring a couple of my friends, and we're going to go out in a limo. Because it was a big celebration. I said, okay, yeah, sounds good. So it didn't dawn on me till maybe 10 minutes before he was going to pick me up that if he was bringing a limo and he was bringing his friends, then his friends would also be gay. And that I would be the only straight man in the limo with probably 3 gay people. And so it's kind of like a double date. So I had to think then, am I ready to get gay? Maybe for my career. Maybe I'd have to do this for my career. Maybe if I don't do this, then Michael won't book me anymore. So maybe that's what he's expecting is a gay time tonight, right? So they pull up, and they probably weren't thinking about me at all. They probably just wanted to have a good time. They could care less about the one little straight boy all squished up in the corner of the limo thinking, oh my gosh. And that was the night I decided whether or not I could be gay, because I looked at them and I thought, okay, if I am going to be gay, which one of these gay guys do I want to be with? Because this big buff guy, I don't know if I want to be curled up next to him. Then this little feminine guy, if it's going to be a feminine, I might as well be with a woman. Why would it be a feminine gay guy? You know what I'm saying? And then there was Mike, and I kind of know Mike too well. And I never really thought he was handsome, and he's always a little too stubbly, so I couldn't see myself like wanting to be close to his face. You know what I mean? So I thought of every gay scenario. I'm like, who's going to do who in this scenario? Are they doing me? Am I doing them? Like, how's this going to work? Right? Meanwhile, none of them said anything to me the entire night about not being gay or being gay. They just had a good time, and everybody was partying except me. The only one in the car with the hang-up was me, all night long thinking, why did he open the left door first? What's he trying to say? Why is he rolling the window up right now? Why is he playing Boys and Men right now? Why is he, all this stuff that didn't have anything to do with anything.
Right.
So, in short, that's what I think. At the end of the day, I think you're inclined or you're not. Ultimately, I was not inclined to be gay. I had a great opportunity that night to burst my cherry, but I didn't really want to be gay, I guess. It just didn't dawn on me that was how I wanted to get down. And so when it comes down to it, welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk really openly about gay life, transsexual life, and the two are not the same, by the way, just so you know. Just like lesbians and gays are not the same at all either. But welcome to the show. You tell your story better than me. So introduce yourself to the fans. We're live on Facebook right now. That's Facebook Live, and this is recorded. And You are.
Which way do I go?
You can just talk to me.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Sasha Rochelle Ogata. I'm a transgender woman. I've been in Las Vegas since the latter part of '98. I'm originally from Hawaii. I started my career as a hairdresser, and
That's how it starts. No, I'm kidding.
and I got my start into the modeling world because I was a hairdresser, and one of the models didn't show up, so my photographer just threw me into the loop, and I became very successful in a very short time. To date, I have 9 magazine covers, international magazine covers, tons of centerfolds. I've done runway modeling for Playboy, and through all of this, no one knew I was transgender.
Now, Sasha, this is a tremendous problem for a lot of people. Like a lot of people right now, they're going to comment nasty stuff.
Oh, of course.
Just because you said it, right?
Yes.
What is it? Like, did you, when you were a kid, did you say one day I'm going to be a woman?
It didn't dawn on me like that. It was when I was like 5 or 6 years old, just growing up. When I would go to the closet to get dressed, I would go to my sister's closet and put on a dress, put on their clothes. I would never put on the clothes my parents bought me or my brother's hand-me-downs. I've always ran and just got the girly stuff. And of course, I got in trouble with that. My father was abusive towards me and the rest of my family, but mainly towards me because I always saw myself as a little girl, not a little boy.
And did you, during this time, did you ever at any point, did you say, I am just confused? As they always say, you're confused, you don't know what you want.
Oh, yes.
Did you
yes.
feel like I was confused? I couldn't understand.
Because back then, there was no role models for me to look upon as they are today. In today's society, you have a lot of transgenders that are out. You know, Orange is the New Black has Laverne Cox, Candace Kane is out. Now we have Bruce Jenner, aka Caitlyn Jenner. So the younger generation of today's age has the ability to look at these people and go, okay, they're like me. You know, I can, if I want to go through the process of getting the change, I can see that I can have a successful career. I had no one to look upon. I looked at my sister who was a model, and I was like, wow, I want to do that too. Everybody tells me I'm pretty, but am I really pretty enough?
And you are a very pretty lady.
Thank you.
Does that make me gay because I find you attractive? Does that make me want to?
No, because for myself, I consider myself, yes, I'm a transgender woman, but first and foremost, I'm a woman.
And penis changes everything.
I had my,
Right.
yes, I guess you would say so. But I got my surgery at 22. I got married at 24 to a completely straight man that knew that I had the change, and been in many relationships that the men did not know, but they fell in love with me anyway because they saw me as a woman. They were like, well, I met you, you're a woman. I didn't meet you as a boy.
Now that's one thing, I want to ask you some stereotypical stuff because I host a show and I get it.
Yes.
Now you said the men didn't know. Didn't you feel it's your obligation? Aren't you supposed to have to tell them? Like,
Yes,
that's a big
of
secret
course.
to
There
keep
were
from somebody.
there were times to where I did feel bad about meeting men, and I would say, I guess they would say, fooling them.
Right.
But to me, I was a
It's a
woman.
pretty big cat in the
Yes,
bag.
I understand that. I understand that. And there were times to where before I had my surgery, I did date men that didn't know, and then after they found out, some of them liked it and wanted to experience something like that. But then I also had a boyfriend that broke up with me because of that.
Well, and don't you think, like, just like I knew you were trans when I booked you on the show, we talked about it, right? But I kind of knew, and I booked you on the show, and it didn't bother me. So if someone's dating you, wouldn't they have an inclination that, yeah, you're trans or something? Like, I mean, it's,
Well, I'm
it's
going
not a
through
magic trick you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm going through that situation right now, actually. I just started dating somebody, and last night he had, 20 questions for me. It was like, let's play 20 questions, Sasha. And I'm just like sitting here going, okay, we're on a date, and you want to play 20 questions? And he's like, well, I'm attracted to you, and you're successful, and that's what I look for in a woman. But you have this past, and I want to learn about it. So I have questions. So yeah, we sat there at dinner, and he asked his questions, and of course the main question was, have you had your operation yet?
It always comes back down to penis, because the penis makes
Correct.
men feel weird. If there's a penis there,
Yes, of course.
that's the main thing, because they have no problem looking at you and touching you and getting horny.
Yeah,
about
from
you.
here up.
Yeah, they're like, this
or
is
from
hot. This
or
is
from
right
behind.
here,
It's
working.
usually from behind.
Right. They like all that.
They like it,
But
they don't want me to turn around.
Right. So that's kind of a weird thing. So where it comes to that, do you think that your having been a boy makes you more in tune as a lover? Like, are you a better lover because you know both sides of the spectrum?
I would have to say so, because I would say 99% of the men that I have had physical relationships with are like, you're the best lover I've ever had. I don't know if it's technique or it's just being in tuned with both sexes, and I have had sex before I had my operation, and I've had sex afterwards. I like the latter, but I'm a giver, and a lot of women are not. I like to spoil my men. I like to bathe my men, and just, I'm a typical Asian woman. I want to cater Hong Kong Fooey,
And I'm going to ask you again another stereotypical question. So you don't feel that God is punishing you in
God
some
made me this
or-
way, honey.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
People always ask me, well, God made you that way, and you're messing with God's creation.
Sure.
I go, well, God made me this way, but I found that I myself was not happy in the body that He gave me, so I just altered it.
And what would be the difference between you altering your sexual package and someone altering their breasts, altering getting their butt, their tummy tucked, their stomach stapled,
That's
their
exactly
LASIK surgery,
correct.
Right?
That's exactly how I look at it, and that's exactly what I say to people when they say, oh my God, I can't believe you cut off your penis. And I'm like, well, girls go and get breast implants because they had small breasts. God gave that to them. God gave them small breasts, and they're saying, God, you were wrong, so I'm going to go get butt implants, breast implants.
And what's the difference?
What's the difference?
Hair extensions.
Correct.
The whole 9 yards. Now, some people think I'm handsome. Do you find me attractive?
You're a handsome man. I'm not physically, I can look at a African American man and go, oh my God, you're gorgeous. But to go the next step and have a physical relationship, no.
I'm not your type.
Correct.
And
just like some people would look at me and go, yeah, she's pretty, but I'm not into Asians.
Right. And see, and that's the thing. Like, being a black man, there's a lot of white women who want to date me just because I'm a black man.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I run into that a lot. As a matter of fact, there was a time I would say that most of the white girlfriends that I've had only dated black men.
Is that because the stereotypical part of a black man is more hung than white men?
Well, they just like that. They like the way black men look, just like some men like the way Latin women look, and that's what they're into.
Correct.
Right? And I asked you that question because I thought, is there anything different about your appetite for a man than anyone else's appetite for a man?
No, because I have slept with black men in the past. In high school, I used to sleep with my neighbor. And then when I was in the fitness industry and I was modeling, I dated a professional Mr. Olympia, and he was a black man, but he was light-skinned. And what they say about black men, all black men are hung, is not true.
Right.
So it's as I grew older, my taste changed, and I guess it really depends on the person. Most of my ex-boyfriends are white men. I like the white, white bodies. But I've also dated a Greek man who was dark, like yourself. He was dark. And he wasn't African American, but he was dark.
Now, let's just say, Sasha, on a scale of 1 to 50, right? 50 is the most.
Okay.
How promiscuous are you? Because you mentioned you dated a bunch of guys. Not a bunch. You said several different.
Well, when I was
guys.
younger, I've had oh goodness, I had a very physical father. He used to beat me, and I ran away from home, and I was still a teenager, and I lived on the streets. I was homeless for a year, and in Hawaii, and I became a streetwalker. So how promiscuous am I? I used to be a streetwalker, and then I changed that and I became a stripper, and I was very promiscuous. And but nowadays I'm not. A lot has changed about me in the last 5 years. I would say for the last 5 years I've grown up. I've taken a deeper look into myself, and the question was always, why do you consistently need to be with a man? And it was my insecurities, daddy issues, I need somebody to love me. So I took upon myself of, okay, if this man wants to sleep with me, he cares for me, he loves me, he wants to be with me, the feeling of being wanted. I used to go into the grocery store, the craft store, buying crafts, and I'd see a cute boy, I'd flirt with him in the store, and I'd take him home. I'd be like, I'd just walk up to him, hi, I'm Sasha, you're hot, and do you want to go back to my place? And I used to be like that. I got onto a couple different websites and was just out looking for pleasure.
Right.
And then after my 8-year relationship ended, I really looked upon myself and was like, what do you really want in life? Do you really want to continue being a slut?
And that's basically what it was.
Oh,
it has
yes.
nothing to do with any other sexual orientation.
No,
That's
not
just
at all.
being
I
slutty.
liked being.
Just going out and
I liked sex. I
Right.
love giving head. I love men topping me. I love the whole act of it. The hot, steamy, sweaty. I love it all.
Right.
But in the last 5 years, I have not dated anyone.
Right. Now, I would think that when you go far enough as to change your sexual orientation, just change your sexual junk from one
My
thing
junk.
to another, right? All that
Okay.
junk that was in that trunk.
It
To
wasn't
actually-
that much. I'm Asian.
to actually take the junk out of the trunk, to me that seems like a sex thing. Like, it seems like you're that committed to having sex a lot to where you want to change your
Oh no, I was
sexual
having a
stuff.
lot of sex when I still had it.
And so it's not really about sex at all.
Me having a sex change had nothing to do with me wanting to
actual
have
intercourse.
sex. Correct.
Interesting.
I already, when I was doing anal with men, I felt like a girl.
Interesting.
It had me wanting to become a woman was more about my psyche. Like, I'm a girl. I shouldn't have this. When I was a teenager, I remember going into the kitchen and grabbing a butter knife and wanting to just whack it off
Oh my
myself because I'm like, looking in the mirror, I'd see pretty girl, but then I'd have to look down and I'd be like, I got cancer.
And so that was always a reminder for you. So
Right.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
What's that?
But did you ever date someone and didn't tell them that you would have the operation, and just let them think that you were a woman the whole length of that relationship?
Yeah.
You don't have to
Well,
answer.
yes, of course, but they were one night stands.
Okay.
But yeah, I have been with a few men, more than a few men, a lot. I've been with a lot of men. Somebody asked me my number one time, and I was like, I don't know. It's in the
You're
hundreds.
like, they don't go
honey."
that high. No, kidding. Give me a calculator. But
Right. No, I have slept with men that didn't know that I was trans. I mean, they've gone down on me, made love to me, the whole shit and caboodle, and they were like, no clue.
And did you feel guilty afterwards?
No. I was like, do you have a roommate? And yes, I've done that too.
And so you didn't feel bad knowing, like if I went out and cheated on my wife,
You would feel
I might
guilty.
have had great sex, but I would feel bad the next morning because I know I shouldn't have done it. But you're saying you didn't feel. How come you didn't feel bad? You didn't feel any guilty about that?
No, because I really see myself as a woman, and so did they. And I'm like, well, don't ask, don't tell.
Right. And it obviously didn't matter to them because they didn't stop the act of sex and be like, hey, by the way.
Right. There's something.
Do you know the way to
right,
San
because
Jose?
they couldn't tell the I look like a 13-year-old little girl down there.
Wow.
So when they see me
That's a visual.
nude, they're like, "Oh my God,
TMI, man.
you
TMI.
are you are so tiny." And I'm like,
Wow.
It's perfect.
Wow. And do you think that you experience sex like other women experience sex? Or
I
maybe
don't know. I've
better?
never been as you say, a real woman. I
Well,
don't know.
I didn't say a
People
real woman. I said other women because you are a woman.
I don't know.
You're everyone.
Hey.
It's all in me.
You know what? Because I've been a stripper for 30 years. Of course, I have friends, and we sit down and we talk, and compare sizes and our men, and we talk about things. And the conclusion has always been, I'm doing the same thing you guys are. I just being transgender and having a man-made vagina. We don't have the innards of a woman,
Sure.
so we don't.
You don't menstruate.
We don't menstruate. We don't have the so-called smell of. I mean, that's disgusting, but the whole tuna smell and stuff.
Sure.
We have a tube.
Babies,
we have a tube, and when we wash it out, it's just warm water.
Mm-hmm.
So even after we have sex for an hour or two, you know how sex smells with straight people? A woman starts to smell and men start to smell because the bodies are getting together.
And now even more than I did before. Yeah.
We don't have that, so we're always clean.
Right.
It's always clean.
Now can we talk about the mechanics? So
Okay.
So you're having sex. Okay. You have to prepare your vagina.
Every woman has to prepare their vagina. You want to go take a shower and get clean. You don't want to just come out of the gym and have sex.
Yeah, but I mean, is there a mandatory protocol that has to happen in order for you?
I would, personally, for myself,
okay,
I would have to say, I of course take a shower, clean my vagina.
Okay. Which is good. You do it before. Some people do it after.
Well, I do it
anyway,
both.
that's my own personal
I
story.
do it both.
Yeah.
I do it both ways.
Don't worry about my private life. This ain't about me. Stay focused on the interview.
Stay Sasha.
Stay focused on what Sasha's talking about.
Because I'm not a normal woman, we don't get wet like normal women.
I think that's what I was trying to.
So
I was
we
going
have
around the whole
to-
ballpark to get to that. Okay.
We do get moist.
Mhm.
I would say moist. We get moist.
And that's a physical reaction. Your body works that way.
It's
with
the pre-cum. It's the
with
pre-cum.
machinery. Okay.
Correct, because they actually insert, everything, and they still keep your, everything flowing. So what we get moist is what you guys would be your pre-cum. It's not enough to have sex with, so you have to use lubricant. But a lot of women have to use lubricant.
Sure.
So if I'm with a gentleman and I put up the lube, he doesn't see anything wrong with that.
So he can't tell the difference. Now, do you feel his penis inside of you?
Oh, goodness, yes.
See, I'm wondering if the doctor gave you like a more sensitive vagina. You know what I mean? Like if I was a doctor and I was going to do that operation, I'd be like, hey, why give her a 5 when I can give her 8 or a 9 or a 10, maybe even a 12? You know what I'm saying? She want to pay me a little extra. She can get a 15.
Actually, I don't think it works that way. When you get your operation, the most sensitive spots, the tip of the penis and like right underneath that little shaft right there, is what they use to make your clitoris.
Right.
So, so he keeps that intact, and he makes a little hood and he puts your little clit in there, and oh yeah, it works, and it feels good, and I can have multiple orgasms, and it feels amazing when men go down on me. It feels amazing when I have sex. And
no, Sasha, I want to tell you about something. So, in my history, I was a promoter. I was a club promoter in West Hollywood. I used to run the Palms Bar in West Hollywood, the famous lesbian bar, right?
Okay.
So that was 2 years of my life I ran the Palms Bar. And one of the things that I loved about gay people was gay people openness. I loved to talk to gay men about just anything because I knew they were always going to give me the straight scoop because they were gay. They had nothing to hide.
Correct.
They were just going to be open. And I love to talk to lesbians for the same reason. Now, that being said, I'm a pessimistic person by nature. I can hate something about everything. So ultimately, what I hated about gay people and lesbians was there was so much sex talk at the forefront of every conversation.
Yes.
Like, why do we got to hear about how you went down on this guy the other day? Why do we have to hear about...
Because they're so open about it, where
right.
so-called straight people, you don't sit in a group and go, oh, by the way, girlfriend,
right.
last night I met this guy and I took him outside in the bushes and I gave him head in the parking lot.
Right.
Yeah. After I got married and had straight boyfriends, and I got out of... When I started modeling and I got married, I went stealth. I stopped going to the gay clubs. I stopped that lifestyle. My husband is straight, completely straight, so he didn't want to associate with that. He didn't want his family to know about me. So no, conversations with straight people and conversations with gay people are very different. Even in today's society, it's still like that.
And don't you think that maybe that's what freaks straight people out so much? It's just the openness.
The openness
Because
of it.
sex freaks straight people out. Straight people can't handle talking about sex, man.
Yeah, they're very...
That freaks them out.
It is. Because they have hang-ups. Yeah. Where gay people don't have hang-ups because it's all out there. It's all up in your face.
Right.
Straight people like to keep everything in the closet.
Right.
People nowadays are like so worried about the transgender people going into the bathrooms and molesting their children. Excuse me, that's a man in a dress and he's going to molest my son, daughter, whatever. Honey, you best go to the Vatican and start talking to all those priests in
right.
dresses.
That's
There's
a
more
man
priests.
in a dress there, too.
That's a man
exactly.
in a dress molesting
exactly.
all those choir boys, That's the
Yes.
people that you got to worry about.
Yes.
Not the transgender. You know what transgender do in the bathroom? We go pee and we're touching up. Do I look fabulous? We're not worried about what that little girl is doing over there.
You know what's funny? I don't think that I've ever heard, now that you mention it, I don't think I've ever heard a news story about a transgender raping or molesting
anybody.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
No,
ever.
Never. But you hear about the priest all the time,
yeah.
or the school teacher, or the cop, or this or that. But you, where in the news has there ever been, transgender caught in bathroom with little girl?
Transgender zombie alert, transgender zombie alert.
You just don't, it's just, that's not on our, maybe it has happened, it's not in the news, but there's a lot of...
trust me, if it happened, it'd be in the news.
It would be in the news.
Sasha, what's the best thing, in your opinion, what is the best thing about you that you like?
I'm a very giving person. I have a big heart. I do charity work here in Las Vegas for the transgender youth here in Las Vegas. I like to give back. After I was modeling and I had 8 magazine covers, centerfolds, and I became very successful, got popular very fast, I went on the Tyra Banks show and I outed myself because I wanted the young transgender community, or just yes, I did it for that platform, but I also wanted people in general to know if you have a dream and you work at it, it can be accomplished. So it wasn't so much I used to, be a boy and then I become a girl and then now I'm a cover model. It was, I had a dream, I did what I needed to do to accomplish that dream, and I moved on to the next dream.
And especially coming from the background where you definitely had
Correct.
a lot of obstacles, there's challenges,
Yes.
but you overcame those challenges
Right.
and became successful in this, and that's the best revenge, by
Right.
the way. If
Is
someone
looking at
abusing
everybody.
you,
I almost want to contact the modeling agencies that turned me away because I was Asian and I'm not marketable, and throw all these magazine covers at them and centerfolds and go, honey, Google my name. Google my name, Sasha Rochelle.
and that is what's up. Hey, I cannot close the show on a stronger note than that. It's Sasha Rochelle on the show today. She's got a very powerful message. Really cool lady to talk to. Sasha, how do people find you if they want to go to your website, maybe? Or
I don't have a
Facebook?
website. Facebook, Sasha Rochelle, and Instagram, Sasha Rochelle 702.
And there's what it is. And like I always say on every show, hey man, you find somebody that's doing something positive, you got to get behind that and try to support it.
Yes.
Aside from that, live the life you love and love the life you live.